Chapter 7, Koryu and Toradora. A couple of hours later. Sub-Area 2, Training Ground 13. I hate moles. Naruto yelped as he dodged the attack of yet another chakra-mutated mole as it attempted to hit him with its heavy digger claws. LV6 Slavering Star Mole. Almost as soon as he entered this sub-area, these damned moles had attacked him. They came from underneath the ground and swiped with those damn oversized front claws. If it wasn't for his detect bloodthirst skill, he'd be in a world of hurt. So now he used his Iwa Bunshin to lure the bastard things to the surface so he could cut the bastard things to bits with kunai. Thing is, they seemed to have an uncanny knack for being able to sniff out where he was and move to attack him. Kuso. He cursed, what the hell is with these things? How are they finding me? Pulling out a pair of shuriken, Naruto infused them with wind chakra and took aim. Futon. Kaden shuriken. He snarled before throwing them at the nearest mole. The two shuriken whirled in the air before descending upon their target, carving bloody rents in its fur and flesh as Naruto manipulated them from just under 4 meters away. This was the one part of his gamer abilities he hated, the need to level up all of his skills in order to improve them. Sure, it made sense, after a fashion, but it was still boring to do, unless you were fighting like this. With a shriek, the mole sagged to the ground, dead at last. These moles had thick fur that seemed to act as a kind of armor. Not that it helped much against wind chakra. Tiredly, Naruto regarded the window that popped up. Slavering Star Mole X3 defeated. You gained 600 Express. Futon. Kaden Shuriken has leveled up. LV1 LV2. Doden. Iwa Bunshin has leveled up. LV2 LV3. Self-taught Bojutsu has leveled up. LV1 LV2. Not bad for the second mob. Naruto remarked. He trotted over to the corpses that were dissolving and revealing the loot. There was a nice wad of Ryo from each of them, about 750 each, in addition to a cured moleskin or two. Finally, there was a scroll, another crafting recipe, for moleskin gloves. That's that, now how do I find the boss? Naruto mused aloud. He sighed as another window popped up. Slavering Star Moles, slain, 6/25. Grinding Grand Moles, slain, 0/10. Helpful. The blonde orphan commented, now, time to replenish my clones. The moles had killed over half of his clones, smashing and rending at them with their claws. After that, he decided to inspect his stats. Status, he commanded. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Class, the gamer. Level, 6 next level, 41.03%. Title, Academy Student plus 25% XP to LV10. Age, 12. HP, 800/800. CP, 800/800. STR, 18-5. Santa, 38-5, plus 10. Dex, 19-5. Int, 16 plus 5. Whiz, 18. Luck, not bad, but still too heavily biased towards stamina, he said with a disbelieving look, how the hell is it so high? Eesh. Resolving to discover the secret of his insane stamina at a later point, Naruto closed the window and set about luring out the moles. Sub-Area 2 was pretty much the same as Sub-Area 1, except the trees were clustered slightly more densely together. The first time he fought a grinding grand mole, he got a shock. Slavering Star Moles were only about the size of a Labrador, while these bad boys were the size of a Shetland pony, the digger claws were the size of dustbin lids and the blunt claws were still sharp enough to draw blood. Still, all of the mole monsters had one key weakness, they were very, very slow. While one Iwa Bunshin distracted them, 3 more stabbed and whacked away with Gansetsuken, while the real Naruto attacked with his Kaden Shuriken from a distance and occasionally restoring clones that had been destroyed. Finally, he grunted as he killed the last mole that he needed to complete his hunting list. Just as he finished speaking, the ground started to tremble, sending Naruto and his clones stumbling across the ground. What the heck's going on, Datbeo? He yelped before he was thrown back by something erupting from beneath the ground, something far larger than any mole he'd faced before. It was massive, the size of a one-story house, and it was only halfway out of the ground. Black velvety fur, a short snout with jaws concealing sharp fangs and massive digging claws that were each large enough to pick up a grown man quite comfortably. Oh, observe. Naruto croaked as he looked at the field boss in awe. LV8 Mojera Wagara, the massive mole. A common mole mutated by oversaturation of chakra, this one has reached truly massive proportions. A large amount of Doden chakra was used in this area of the field, allowing this chakra mutant to use bastardized Doden ninjutsu. Special status, slow and purposeful, iron muscles, Doden sensing, paralyzing toxin. Special abilities, territorial aggression. Oh, dear Kami, Naruto breathed. He pressed, slow and purposeful, with a trembling finger. Slow and purposeful passive. You may move slowly, but it is always with a purpose. With the appropriate force behind your movements, nothing can stop you. Large creature only. Reduces movement speed by 50%. Allows holder of this skill to ignore skill interrupt and attack interrupt effects. Increases knockback effect by 50%. Note to self, do not get in the way of those damn claws. He thought with a sweat drop. He'd be sent flying into the Hokage monument. Doden sensing active. Because of either natural ability or extreme training, you can use your skills with Doden ninjutsu to detect the movements of anything that touches the earth and rocks around you. Usually, this technique is developed to make up for poor or non-existent sight. Particularly skilled users can even read attacks based on the weight distribution of people standing on the earth. Allows the user an 80% chance of detecting enemies standing on the ground. Allows the user a 20% chance to read the attack of an enemy as long as they execute it on the ground. Costs 30 CP minute. So that's how the bastards were tracking me. Naruto exclaimed before swearing up a storm. Paralyzing toxin active passive. You have in your possession a powerful toxin that causes paralysis after entering the bloodstream of your opponents. Whether it is smeared on a sword, loaded into a poison dart or a natural part of your saliva, it matters not. The only issue is actually getting it into the enemy's bloodstream. If a natural part of the user's body passively grants full immunity to your own toxin and a 50% resistance to similar types of toxins, actively grants a 55% chance of poisoning an enemy with the status effect paralysis if struck by a toxin-loaded weapon. Medium used for toxin, saliva. Territorial aggression, passive. You hate it when others of your own gender enter your territory and immediately attack any aggressively. Woe betides any who enter your territory incautiously. Gender affected, male. Passively forces you to attack the nearest applicable target on sight. Passively adds 20% to hit ratio against all applicable enemies. Crap on a stick. Naruto swore, shit, well, nothing to it but to do it. He had not come this far to be beaten by an oversized wallet, damn it. Right, you lot. Attack from a distance with Gansatsuken. Naruto ordered 6 clones, the rest of you get up close and personal. Stab and slash the bastard. What'll you be doing, boss? One Iwa Bunshin asked suspiciously. I'll be in there with you. Naruto grinned, if this guy can track my location. Like the others, hiding is pointless as long as I'm touching the ground, so I might as well see how well this guy does at finding someone climbing all over him. With that said, Naruto and his Iwa Bunshin set to work. First off, the Iwa Bunshin all fired a Gansatsuken barrage that struck the mole in various locations, including one lucky shot that hit it in its right eye, blinding it. Enemy right eye blinded. Vision remaining. 110 degrees on the left. Mojera let out a wild animalistic scream of pain before slamming its paw on the ground, sending a massive lump of compressed earth towards Naruto and his clones. Scatter. Naruto yelled as he moved like greased lightning to avoid the rock attack. His clones were just as quick on the uptake, but one was crushed nevertheless. Damn it. Naruto cursed. 1/12 of his line of battle gone already. What the heck was that? It had hit the ground and the next thing, a large boulder popped out. Must be a jutsu, he concluded in irritation, same plan as before. You 5 with me, the rest of you turn that mole into a pincushion. Right, the Iwa Bunshin shouted. With a roar of challenge, Naruto and 5 of his clones charged the mole, sticking to its blind side, while the other 6 started peppering Mojera with Gansatsuken as fast as they could create them. This strategy hadn't been possible during the battle against the berserk fox squirrel, as it and its minions had been fast and agile, able to dodge and attack any clones who had hung back to throw anything. Against Mojera on the other hand, this was a very feasible one as there were no minions and the mole was slow. Damn, this mole's got tough skin. One Iwa Bunshin growled as he shoved his stone spear into the field boss's hide. Iron muscles, remember. The original barked back, now less talk, more stabbing. Mojera growled at the attacks and swiped blindly at Naruto's clones with its right paw. They all dodged, but the attack had been eerily accurate, passing right through where they had been standing, probably thanks to the Doden sensing skill it possessed. Keep moving. Naruto ordered, stab and move. Don't stay in one place for too long or it'll get you. Following his own advice, Naruto used the tree climbing skill to climb on top of the boss and started stabbing it all over its body, even as the long-distance group kept up a steady bombardment of Gansatsuken. Driven half mad by the pain, Mojera lashed out wildly with his claws, smashing 3 of the closest clones into rubble, making Naruto growl in frustration. Because of the lower limit imposed by his ability, the smallest number of rock clones he could create was 5, and the most he could have out was 12, thus until at least one more was destroyed, he couldn't replenish his army. A window popped up a few minutes of stabbing that made him growl in frustration. 6 of your Iwa Bunshin have run out of chakra and crumbled to pieces. He leapt off of the back of the field boss and quickly summoned more clones so he had the maximum limit out again. He hated barfing up rocks, so that's why he got off the mole. You know, aside from the fact he can squash my clones in a single hit, this is actually far easier than that damn squirrel with the demon fox's chakra. Naruto though as he leapt over one large claw swipe of the boss, unlike that one, I can read this one's attacks much better and dodge out of the way before it hits me. It was true. While the field boss possessed a high defense thanks to its iron muscles and had a high attack because of its sheer size and slow and purposeful ability, the mole's lack of speed made this a far easier fight than the sub-area 1 boss fight. After about an hour of cutting the damn mole up, a window popped up. Mojera Wagara is retreating. Kill the minions it summons in less than 5 minutes or it will have 25% of its health restored when it re-emerges. Naruto yelped. What the hell was with this? With a long moan, Mojera Wagara retreated underground, slipping back into the hole from which it had emerged. Erupting from the ground around the hole in its place were 3 grinding grand moles joined by a large window to one side with a timer that started counting down. 5 o'clock, 4:59. Kill him. At the blonde boy's command, the Iwa Bunshin charged the pony-sized moles and began efficiently cutting them to pieces and stabbing them with a mix of kunai and Gansatsuken. Naruto deployed his Kaden Shuriken and was pleased to see that the level up that the skill had undergone had increased the range from 4 meters to 5. Yay. Less chance of being attacked while using the jutsu. It was close, but his clones just and no more succeeded in killing the 3 moles before the time limit expired, with 0:01 left on the clock. You have successfully defeated the minions of Mojera Wagara within the time limit. It returns to the field exactly as it was when it left. The rumbling ground told Naruto that the oversized chakra mutant was going to make his grand entrance soon. He pulled his clones back so they wouldn't be crushed by the boss when he popped out of his hole. When that happened, the towering tunneler was met by a hail of kunai, shuriken and stone spears that set it yowling in pain. In response, it sent another boulder at Naruto and his clones. It took another 2 grueling ore to kill the mole, but when it did, Naruto felt exultation. That was not a particularly hard fight, but it was a test of his stamina, which immediately made him grateful for the quirk that gave him a sufficiently high amount of Santa. Grinding Grand Mole X3 defeated. You gain 750 Express. Field Boss Mojaro Wagara, the massive mole defeated. You gain 1200 Express. Your level has gone up by 1. 6 to 7. You have 5 attribute points to spend. Secondary Doden Affinity has leveled up. 2 to 3. Natural Futon Affinity has leveled up. 1 to 2. Doden, Gansetsouken no Jutsu has leveled up. 2 to 3. Phew, that is a lot of leveling up today. Naruto whistled slightly, impressed by the amount of skills that had leveled up. Gotta get more Futon Jutsu though, onto the best part. Loot. He delegated his clones to sorting through and gathering the loot from the 3 grinding grand moles while he dealt with the boss loot drop personally, the corpses having dissolved to nothing while he read the notification window. Trotting over to the pile that was just at the edge of the molehill, Naruto grinned at the cash that was sitting there. He grabbed it and put it in his inventory's money section. You have gained 10,000 ryo. That'll help pay the rent. The blonde orphan muttered before turning his attention to the scrolls, of which there were 3. He grabbed one. You have acquired the Doden, Dongan no Jutsu, scroll. Would you like to learn this? Huh, Earth style, rock bullet jutsu, is it? Naruto mused, why not? It'll be nice to have a heavy-hitting jutsu up my sleeve. Hitting the Y button, he watched in fascination as the paper and ink scroll dissolved into blue light before being absorbed into his chest. No matter how many times he saw that, he never got tired of seeing it. Doden, Dongan no Jutsu active LV1, 00.00 EXP. By slamming their hand or foot on the ground after completing the hand signs, the user can send a large boulder or menhir at the opponent. As this jutsu only requires 2 hand signs, it can be performed quickly. The drawback is its short range and slow speed, although these are somewhat improved upon at higher levels. Actively sends a menhir boulder at the opponent up to 3 meters away, causing 50 points of damage plus an additional 10 points for every level of secondary Doden affinity you possess max 10 levels. The difference between a menhir and a boulder is purely cosmetic and is entirely up to the user during the hand sign sequence. Hand signs. Horse, monkey. Costs 50 CP per use. Needs to be leveled up before it'll be of use in combat, but it's cool. Naruto judged. For making an accurate judgment, you receive +1 whiz. I swear I am going to hurt whoever sends these messages. He growled with a tick mark on his head. Yeah, I'm not all that smart, but I'm not stupid, damn it. Shaking his head and muttering invectives under his breath, he grabbed the second scroll, which turned out to be a crafting recipe for a moleskin jacket. Not exactly useful, but it would be cool to make. Finally, he turned his attention to the last scroll. You have acquired the Doden, Moguragakure no Jutsu, scroll. Would you like to learn this? Hiding like a mole jutsu. Naruto quoted doubtfully before hitting the Y button. Well, why not? At least it can't hurt to see what it can do. Doden, Moguragakure no Jutsu active LV1, 000. Rumored to have been created in and is used extensively in Iwagakure no Sato, the hiding like a mole technique allows one to change earth to sand by channeling chakra into it, thus allowing the user to dig through it in a similar manner to a mole. The chakra field covers the entire body and no more. The sand can be made to revert to earth after the user travels far enough away from it, leaving no sign that the user has passed by. The user can still tell where they are through the use of magnetic fields. The user can actively sink into and travel through earth and soil at walking speed. The user can actively track their position via magnetic fields, triangulating their position relative to anything attached to the earth, within a maximum range of 10 meters. Hand signs. Dog, monkey, boar. Costs 40 CP per minute. Cool. I can think of more than a few ways to kick ass with this jutsu, even though I can't exactly attack with it. Naruto cackled as his mind explored all the possibilities. Now, what else is there? Aside from a truckload of cured moleskins, there was only one other thing left behind, a note. To the shinobi who defeated Mojaro Wagara. If you are reading this note, then you have defeated the second field boss, a commendable achievement. Do not get cocky, however. The boss in the next field is stronger than the berserk fox squirrel and Mojaro Wagara put together. I would recommend acquiring a weapon other than kunai and shuriken before you confront him. Towards that end, once you have finished reading this note, channel some chakra into this paper. You will like the result. The Forest Lord. Okay, who is this Forest Lord guy? Naruto demanded as he looked around suspiciously. Is he watching me or something? Geez, alright, let's see what this paper is all about. Placing it very carefully on the ground, Naruto channeled chakra into it with a single finger. A puff of smoke erupted from the paper, revealing an ingot of a silvery metal. It was about the same length and breadth as an A4 notebook and was at least 4 inches thick. It had to weigh at least 50 kilograms. Observe. Chakra metal ingot. A solid bar of the rare and potent chakra metal. A skilled blacksmith can melt it down and forge it into weapons or armor. Metal purity. 999.90. Holy hell, this must be worth a fortune. The blonde said as his jaw hit the ground. He didn't know squat about the purity of metal, but he did know, from what he had heard around town, that the purer the metal, the more value it had. If that was anything approaching the truth here, the purity of this ingot meant he could buy the Uchiha clan compound with this block of chakra metal, if not a bit more than that. Picking the ingot slab seemed more appropriate, but whatever, Naruto heaved it with great difficulty into his inventory. He was really appreciating the fact that it was weightless. Phew, time to head home, I think. Naruto said, need to rest up for my match with Sakura-chan tomorrow. With that, he jogged off to the exit. Mats were brand new, the floorboards were freshly polished and the walls were clean. You did a good job, the Pinkett admitted. Iwa Bunchan are really good at chores, as long as the orders are simple. Naruto replied with a shrug, clean this, scrub that, you know, stuff like that. Anything more complicated tends to get messed up. This made the Kunoichi aspirant look thoughtful. She made a note to do some research on solid clone jutsu, as they really looked useful. Let's get to it then. Sakura stepped into the middle of the room and waited for Naruto to move opposite her. First to fall 3 times loses. Agreed. Yep. No gouging or hitting below the belt or you lose by default. Naruto said with a nod. How do we start things off then? Sakura asked. Like this. Naruto pulled a 1 Ryo coin from his pocket. When the coin hits the ground, we start. Sounds good. She agreed. With a simple flick of his thumb, Naruto sent the coin spinning into the air. Sakura assumed the basic defensive stance of the Academy's Hokage Taijutsu style, while Naruto assumed a neutral stance that favored neither offense nor defense. With a light metallic cling, the coin struck the floor. Naruto charged forwards and sent a kick flying at Sakura, who was taken aback by the speed of the attack. She barely dodged it by leaning back and then counterattacked by snapping her right leg up, hoping to hit him in the jaw, a standard counterattack in the Hokage style. Naruto grabbed her leg and pushed her off balance, making her land on her butt with a squeak of pain and surprise. Naruto won, Sakura-chan, nil, he proclaimed. He barely had to make an effort. Sakura thought in disbelief, I'm the top kunoichi and he had me on the ground in less than half a minute. Shanaru, like I'm gonna let him win. Cha, her inner self snarled, adorned with weapons and ready to go to war, kick his ass. With a scowl, Sakura flipped to her feet and went on the attack. She started with a series of punches, moved on to a 3-kick combo and ended with a spinning roundhouse kick. Naruto just blocked the punches, dodged the kicks and grabbed her leg again. This time he executed a throw, sending Sakura tumbling over his head until she came to a stop when she crashed into the wall. Damn it, Sakura growled. She was already tired, which proved Naruto's point about her lack of stamina and physical strength, making her even madder. I'm the best kunoichi in our class. Why am I so weak? Uruka-sensei doesn't push you girls that hard. Naruto replied, you rigidly adhere to the textbook Hokage style and don't try and alter it to suit you. You also rarely train yourself because you are obsessed with your looks. Your diet prevented your body from building its muscles. Ino has a slight advantage over you because she's from a shinobi clan, but I could take both you and her on at the same time without too much trouble because you are both fangirls. With a roar of anger, Sakura leapt to her feet and charged at Naruto, fist swinging as she practically went berserk on him. I am nothing like Ino Buddha. She roared. Really? Naruto asked as he noted that her swings were stronger than before. You both like the same guy, Sakura-chan. That says a lot about you both, I'd say. Shanaru. Sakura finally got Naruto with a solid punch to the gut that made him stagger and fall to the ground. Ow. Man, I need to work on my stance. Naruto shook his head before grinning at Sakura, nicely done. Like I'm going to lose. Sakura panted out. Sorry, Sakura-chan, but you are. Naruto replied softly. He spun around in a low kick, standing and kicking at the same time. He took Sakura's legs out from underneath her, making her slam into the floor and let out a large oomph. As air was forcibly expelled from her lungs. I lost. Sakura said blankly. Yep, you did well, but your lack of physical training was the cause of your defeat. Naruto said not unkindly. He helped her to her feet and led her back up to his room. So then, looks like I'm going to be getting help from you with my physical training. Sakura said with a sigh. She honestly hadn't expected to lose, but she had shaken on the wager and she was not in the habit of breaking her word, so she was going along with it. Losing to the class dobi really stung though. Don't worry, Sakura-chan. Naruto said with a grin, once you graduate, you'll thank me. After Sakura leaves. With Naruto. Okay then, let's see what we have here, Naruto said before looking at the messages that had been popping up during the last hour or so. You have studied diligently. +1 int. Quest complete. Tough love. You have defeated Haruno Sakura in a taijutsu match. Although this has slightly lowered your relationship with her, it is for the greater good. Quest completion reward. -50 relationship with Haruno Sakura, +150 XP, +500 Ryo. Beginner's Hokage Taijutsu has leveled up. LV5 LV6. That's cool. Naruto muttered, what the, another quest. Quest alert. Growing a cherry blossom. You have been given the task of improving Haruno Sakura's physical condition. Do your best and show some results before graduation. Increase Haruno Sakura's STR and STA by 5 before graduation to succeed. Quest completion reward, +750 XP, +600 relationship with Haruno Sakura, random item reward. Quest failure, +500 XP, -200 relationship with Haruno Sakura. So I have just under 7 months to raise her STA and STR to a decent level. Does that include her getting rid of her malnourished status? Naruto wondered aloud. The window flashed for a moment before adding in the provision that the increase does not come from her malnourished flaw being removed. He had to get her to physically exercise. I had to ask. Naruto sighed before turning his mind. Refurbishing the dojo to basic usability had been good and everything, but he still had to get his hands on some training dummies so he could practice on them and hopefully level up his taijutsu to the point that he could finally absorb the intermediate book. Leveling these things up sucks ass. Naruto grumbled as he headed out to do some shopping. At the same time, Hokage's office. I see. Sarutobi sighed. This corroborates my own investigations, Inoichi-san. The elderly Hokage regarded the Yamanaka clan head thoughtfully. He had arrived here not long after getting off shift at the T&I department and had asked to see him about a disturbing matter. Who would remove information about the Uzumaki clan and Uzushiogakure from our textbooks? Inoichi asked in bewilderment. The same kind of people who would throw out a 5-year-old boy from the orphanage. The same kind of people who would charge him extra for substandard food and water. Sarutobi growled. The same kind of people who would organize and take part in raiding his apartment and destroying all of his possessions save for those he secreted away just in case. That is the kind of malice we are dealing With here, Inoichi growled as well. The boy was the same age as his daughter and the thought of someone treating her like Naruto had been treated sent his anger skyrocketing through the roof. No child should have to endure that. Naruto-kun has tried to conceal the extent of the civilians' ire against him from me, the Hokage said sadly. It wasn't that he didn't trust me, far from it. It was that he thought he could handle it on his own. Where have you ever heard of a child who is not a shinobi making such a decision? One who has been forced to grow up faster than he should have. The younger man replied grimly, so his usual, happy-go-nuts persona is a mask. Makes sense. Not a mask per se, a shield. Sarutobi corrected him, if the villagers don't see him affected negatively by their bullying, they'll not be as zealous in their acts of malice as they would otherwise be. At least, that is what I assume was the general line of Naruto-kun's thinking. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Inoichi quoted, it does sound like something a child would think up. I take it you've made it clear to him not to hide things from you anymore. About the villagers, yes. Sarutobi allowed, but it seems he has another secret that he hasn't told me about. Uma horse witnessed him absorbing a scroll that he had bought while under a henge. Absorbing. Inoichi sounded incredulous. It dissolved in a burst of blue light that then flew into Naruto-kun's chest. Sarutobi said, no chakra was detected and it was no genjutsu. I am, quite frankly, at a loss as to how to explain it. Why not just take the direct approach? Inoichi asked. Because that would reveal the fact he is being followed around Konoha, everywhere but the academy and training ground 13 anyway. Sarutobi replied, I see no issue in waiting for Naruto-kun to come to me, as he always does, eventually. Seeing Inoichi's skeptical look, the old man chuckled, Naruto-kun can be mature when the right circumstances call for it, but he is a 12-year-old boy. He will likely show off this bizarre skill to me in hopes of impressing me or something. He has a hard time keeping secrets from me. As you say, Hokage-sama. Inoichi said, will you be keeping the Anbu tracking him? Yes. Thanks to recent events, I can even justify it to Danzo. Sarutobi replied sourly. Shimura Danzo was a pain in his neck, someone who had been a part of Team Tobirama under the Nadaime Hokage himself. The man had always thought that he should have been Sandaime Hokage rather than Sarutobi and had done his utmost to counterbalance the Hokage's weak policies with his personal Anbu group, Root. Danzo had been urging him at least once a month for the last 12 years to turn Naruto into a weapon, for the good of Konohagakure, not that that was the real motivation behind it, Sarutobi knew. No, the old Warhawk wanted control of the village Jinchuriki to oust Sarutobi from his position and become the Hokage himself. For multiple reasons, this was not something that the Sandaime was going to allow to happen. For one, Danzo would get at his surrogate grandson over his cold dead body. For another, Danzo's policies would destroy Konoha, turn it into a mockery of Senju Hashirama's vision. This he could not allow. I have been making a few inquiries and the Anbu have rounded up a few people, mostly former council members, oddly enough, and it would be appreciated if you could handle them personally tomorrow. Sarutobi continued, returning to the original topic of conversation. It will be a pleasure, Hokage-sama. Inoichi replied with a smirk, my wife is unhappy about Naruto's treatment and will be happy I'm working towards resolving some part of it. Good too.
Here. Sarutobi smiled. After a few more minutes of conversation about who Inoichi would be interrogating, the man left. Now then, when will you come to talk to me, Naruto-kun? Sarutobi mused.
Chapter 8. Reforged Blades and Cage Bunshin. The next day, early morning. Naruto's new apartment. Recipe mastered. You have successfully mastered the recipe plain cooked rice. You gained 50 express to the cooking skill. Well, that was easy. Naruto remarked absently. He had only been trying to cook rice for the last couple of days, so he was surprised to have gotten it mastered this quickly. Then again, it is very difficult to mess up putting rice and water inside a rice cooker and leaving it to cook, so maybe it wasn't all that surprising. Mentally consulting his knowledge of his cooking skills recipes, Naruto decided that the next thing to try was toast. He truthfully didn't have a preference either way for breaded products, but it was the next recipe that was level 1 on the list he had. In the cooking skill description, there was a drop-down menu that allowed him to pull up recipes that he knew and view them, as well as how well he could cook them and their relative difficulty levels. The more complicated recipes even required him to have mastered certain recipes beforehand in order to cook them. Setting the bowl of rice on the table, Naruto sat down, picked up his chopsticks and chomped away at it as he made plans for what to do after the academy was let out today. He would have to see when Sakura-chan wanted to have her lessons in taijutsu, as well as water all of his plants. There was also the issue of the chakra metal ingot he had received from the mysterious forest lord that was watching his progress in training area 13. Naruto had no idea about prices for such a thing, but he would have to guess that it would be quite expensive indeed. This meant that questions would be asked when people found out about the fact he had it. He didn't know how widespread the knowledge of chakra mutations was, but he knew the civilians would accuse him of stealing it from someone. The best thing to do would be to take the ingot to his Gigi and tell him where he had gotten it, or a version of where he had gotten it at least. He would simply claim to have found it in the burrow of the giant mole he had defeated. The fact that it had been sealed inside of a letter was a detail he didn't want to bother the Hokage with. The old man had enough on his plate to deal with without having to wonder and worry about his surrogate grandson's mysterious power that seemed to alter the world around him like a permanent genjutsu. Naruto would tell him at some point, just not now. Yosh, off to the academy. The blonde orphan declared as he finished his meal. He stood up and charged out of his home towards the academy. As always, the glares of the villagers keep making my detect bloodthirst skill more powerful. Naruto thought with a mental chuckle as he jogged towards the academy. Seriously, just walking around Konoha for a couple of days outside the academy building made his detect bloodlust skill level up. Naruto seriously didn't know what the civilians' problem was regarding him. It was driving him nuts just thinking about it. Some time back, he had asked Gigi if his parents had done something to make the villagers hate him. It had been the only thing he could think of that could possibly explain the amount of animosity that was directed towards him. Sarutobi had looked pained for a moment before schooling his facial expression and denying it, explaining that Naruto's parents had been honorable shinobi who would have died before betraying Konohagakure. Deciding that what would come in its own time, Naruto put his ruminating to one side and sped on. After the academy is let out for the day. Hokage's office. Hey Gigi. Naruto called as he strode into the office of the Hokage, a cheerful smile on his face. Ah, Naruto-kun. It has been a while. Sarutobi greeted him with a grandfatherly smile. How have things been with Sakura-chan? Naruto flushed. Okay. I beat her in a taijutsu spar yesterday so she's going to start training harder. Combine that with eating properly, I think she'll be close to Genin standard by the time the exams come around, I think. I think she'll have some help from her father as well, so I rather think you were right. The Hokage chuckled. Now, what can I do for you, Naruto-kun? Not that I'm not delighted to have an excuse to stop my paperwork, but it must be finished at some point. Ah, yeah, I found something in training ground 13 the other day and I wanted to show you it. Naruto said with a nod. Oh, Sarutobi raised an eyebrow. Naruto drew a scroll out of his pocket and unrolled it to reveal the sealing array. Placing a finger on the array, Naruto pulsed some chakra into the seal and a large amount of chakra smoke exploded from it as the object inside was unsealed. When the smoke cleared to reveal the ingot of chakra metal, Sarutobi's eyes bulged out and his jaw flapped open in disbelief. Impossible. That much chakra metal. How? Where? Were the thoughts that were swirling around in his head as he gaped at the chakra metal ingot. Once he gathered the shattered remains of his composure and tore his eyes from the chakra metal ingot, he asked hoarsely, Naruto-kun, just where did you find this again? In the second sub-area of training ground 13. Naruto replied, hiding his amusement at the Sandame looking so shocked, I killed a massive chakra-mutated mole and found this in its burrow. I know it's metal but I have no idea what it is and I thought you would know. The Sandame nodded slowly. It was a good thing that you did, Naruto-kun. Does anyone else know you have this? Nope. I sealed it as soon as I found it. Naruto replied, it would have been too heavy to carry otherwise. Naturally, the Hokage muttered, well Naruto-kun, you are in luck. What you have there is unmistakably one of the largest ingots of chakra metal I have ever seen. May I inspect it? Sure. Channeling chakra to his arms, Sarutobi picked up the lump of metal easily and examined it. On the reverse side of the ingot, in the top right-hand corner, was the purity of the metal, which had the old man's eyebrows shooting up in astonishment. A purity of 999.90. He exclaimed, Naruto-kun, this is worth a fortune. Is it? Naruto asked, how much are we talking exactly? You could buy the Hyuga clan compound and still have enough left over to live without working for 3 years if you sold it, and that is if you get the lowest price for it. Naruto yelped in shock. The Hyuga clan compound was almost as large as the old Uchiha compound, which was massive. Yes, it is a rather impressive price tag, isn't it? The Hokage said with a chuckle, I rather imagine, however, that you are far more interested in what can be made from it. Yeah, Naruto agreed fervently, is this enough to make 2 Tanto and a Kodachi? I believe so. Sarutobi said thoughtfully, you would have to get a master weaponsmith to tell you for certain. Would Higurashi-san count? The blonde boy asked. Tatsuhiko. Yes, certainly, the Sandame replied with a nod, he is one of the best smiths in all of Hai no Kuni, regardless of his habit of getting drunk when outside of Konoha. He'll be able to tell you either way. Thanks Gigi. Naruto replied as he resealed the ingot, I'm going to see Tenten tomorrow, so I'll see her dad while I'm at it. Oh, giving up on Sakura-chan to chase after Tenten. Sarutobi teased. Wah, no. Naruto yelled with a flush, Tenten asked me to do something for her and I'm reporting back to her about it. Geez Gigi. The pout Naruto threw his way made the Hokage chuckle again. Now, how have you been doing in training ground 13 other than finding rare and expensive metals? Okay. The first sub-area was full of mutated squirrels the size of small dogs and the second was full of mutated moles. Naruto replied, weird. I wonder what's in the third sub-area. Oh yeah. What do I do with any old weapons and the like that I find in the training ground? If they have their owner's name on or near them, bring them to me and I'll see that they are returned. Sarutobi replied, anything else is yours. Finders keepers. Consider it payment for clearing out the areas. It's the usual rule is for those who clear out training grounds full of chakra mutations. Nice. Naruto grinned, well, I gotta go Gigi. Studying time with Sakura-chan. Have a good time, my boy. Sarutobi smiled as Naruto left, before a frown came upon his face. That large ingot of chakra metal was a daimyo's ransom. Naruto had been telling the truth about where he found it, but Sarutobi could tell he was being evasive about exactly how it was found, which was troubling. Ordinarily, Naruto would be boasting of every minor detail of his discovery of the ingot. On the bright side, this does mean that he is becoming a better shinobi. The Hokage thought with a sigh, it looks like I'll have to resort to more sneaky methods of finding out what he does though. Ah well, now what was this petition? A proposal to assign guards for the civilian council 3 shinobi per member on a permanent basis. Did they think we just make shinobi appear out of thin air whenever we need them? Denied. The sound of a stamp firmly thumping on paper resounded through the room as Sarutobi Hiruzen did battle with his paperwork. After Sakura's tutoring session. Streets of Konoha. What to do now? Naruto mused. He had just finished a study session with Sakura, netting him a nice little bonus of int and WIS. He had also established taijutsu practice times twice a week. Apparently, Hokage Gigi had been right and her father was going to give her some pointers 3 times a week, which he encouraged heartily. The thing was, he didn't know what to do with himself now. He didn't want to challenge the third sub-area until he had a proper weapon, and he didn't know if he could go back to the other areas he had already cleared. He didn't need to go shopping yet and he wasn't hungry, so he hadn't a clue what to do. Then it hit him. Training time, he declared and beat feet back to his apartment building. Once he got there, he pulled those interesting shinobi sandals out of his inventory and equipped them, reasoning that if they had an effect on training the tree climbing exercise, they were worth a try. Damn, I hate breaking in new sandals, he groused. I get them just how I like them and I have to replace the damn things. Well, better get started on that training. Having said that, Naruto didn't know of any trees that were out of sight. Meh. Walls would be a good replacement. Thanks to his gamer abilities, Naruto knew that the tree climbing exercise was meant for any surface, from stone walls, to trees, to the sides of a ship. Deciding to give the newly refurbished sparring dojo a try, Naruto headed there and started climbing the walls. He decided to try to level it up to level 5 today. The main thing about training a skill like this, Naruto comes to realize, is that it is mind-numbingly boring. Walking up and down a wall walking up a wall and falling down after a certain point got really dull after about 5 minutes, so Naruto created some Iwa Bunshin to do the exercise with him so he'd at least have some company. Unfortunately, his clones were mouthy bastards and started following his Gigi's lead in teasing him about Sakura and Tenten. Naruto was really confused here. Were elemental clones supposed to be this mouthy? He'd have to ask Iruka-sensei at some point, cause this was starting to freak him out a bit. Finally, tree climbing exercise has leveled up. 4 to 5. Phew, that took way too damn long. Naruto huffed. Let's see now. Tree climbing passive active LV5, 209. The tree climbing exercise is one of the first chakra control exercises a fresh genin learns after graduation from the academy. Fulfilling several roles, this training exercise is the forerunner of the more difficult water walking exercise, as well as laying the foundation for the tree jumping skill. Passively increases chakra control by 5%. Passively raises CP by 1%. Actively allows the user to stick to any solid surface that is not a chakra repellent. Costs 15 CP per minute. That's a bit better. The blonde boy huffed. Still, I need to do better. I need to get better faster. Better start with the damn calligraphy, damn it. I don't have ink or a brush. Kuso. Shopping time. Running to the nearest shop that sold calligraphy brushes and ink, Naruto once again made use of the ever-useful Henge no Jutsu to become Iruka in order not to get overcharged. He bought enough brushes, paper and ink for a small class, just to avoid people being suspicious, and was surprised when he actually got money off for buying in bulk. Who knew? Down 5,000 ryo, Naruto headed back to his apartment and started on his practice. The first attempts were atrocious. Seriously looking more like a child's attempt to draw a zebra than anything else. Undaunted, Naruto continued to practice. He had to get to level 10 in calligraphy in order to learn basic Fuinjutsu, which would be the first step to honoring his ancestors. Before being told about the Uzumaki clan's skill with Fuinjutsu, Naruto had been somewhat ambivalent about learning it. Now that he knew his ancestors had specialized in using the sealing arts, there was nothing on earth that would stop him from learning it. Finally, a connection with those who came before him. Once Naruto reached level 3, he gave up for the day because his hand was sore from grasping the damn brush. He was about to head over to the kitchen and start to make his dinner when a knock came at his door. Frowning, he went over and opened it, revealing, "Ino, what do you want?" Naruto asked in surprise. Well, that's a charming way to greet someone. The Yamanaka heiress huffed with her arms crossed. Well, aren't you going to invite me in? Or are we going to be conversing across the damn doorway? Naruto, knowing that Ino would be at least somewhat polite in someone else's house, opened the door fully to let her in. Ojamashimasu. Ino said as she came in, let's have a seat before we talk. Oh, okay. Naruto said with a frown, leading her to the living room. What are you up to, Naruto? Ino asked bluntly after sitting on an armchair. You'll have to be a bit more specific than that, Ino. Naruto replied dryly. With Sakura, Dobi. Ino snapped. What about Sakura-chan? He asked, absently noting that Ino had dropped her derogatory nickname for Sakura. Why are you doing all of what you've done? Ino said, stumbling on her words for a moment. Because she and you for that matter are not up to snuff. Naruto stated frankly, you both barely train, which you should be doing, and you both diet, which shinobi do not need to do. I had the ability to help her out and I took it. I like her and do not want to see her dead on her first mission out of the village. Ino scoffed at this. TCH. Yeah right. What would the dead last know? I have been in the academy for 2 years more than you, Ino. Naruto told her, his temper starting to fray. The only reason why I haven't graduated before now is because I can't do the stupid Bunshin no Jutsu. If not for that, I'd have a Hitai 8 already. Seeing Ino's stubborn expression made him sigh. That damn, strong-minded perk of hers is raising its ugly head here. Then an idea struck him. Look, in 2 months, have a spar with Sakura-chan. I'll be willing to bet she kicks your ass 6 ways to Sunday. Naruto said with a smirk. Me, lose to forehead girl. TCH. Dream on. Ino scoffed again, alright. I accept the bet. If I beat forehead, you pay for a shopping spree of mine. Why does this seem familiar for some reason? Naruto muttered under his breath, fine. And if Sakura-chan hands you your ass on a platter, you have to stop calling her that stupid nickname. You aren't going to make me stop dieting or train? Ino asked in surprise. Nope, you'll do that all on your own once you get your ass kicked. Naruto grinned. Dream on. Ino rolled her eyes. I'm still going to keep an eye on you, Naruto. Just because forehead and I are rivals for Sasuke-kun's love doesn't mean I'm going to let you hurt her. It always comes back to the tem, doesn't it? Naruto grumbled. Baka. Don't call my Sasuke-kun that. Ino shouted at him. I'll call him whatever the hell I like. Naruto retorted. Now if you don't mind, I have to make my dinner, so go. TCH. Ino scoffed, whatever. With that, she stormed out and slammed the door, making Naruto wince. He then turned his attention to the quest window that had popped up during the conversation. Quest created. Fields and Mountains. Train Haruno Sakura to be able to defeat her frenemy and rival Yamanaka Ino in 2 months' time. Quest completion reward. Plus 2000 XP. Plus 500 reputation with Haruno Sakura. Plus 500 reputation with Yamanaka Ino. Plus 5000 Ryo, Futon. Datapa no Jutsu, Scroll. Quest failure. Plus 500 XP. Minus 250 reputation with Haruno Sakura, a heavy hit to your wallet. Except. YN. Yet another quest that he couldn't ignore. The possible rewards made him want to salivate though. That much experience would likely make him level up, and the Ryo wasn't a bad enticement either. The best prize was the Jutsu Scroll though. For some reason, wind element jutsu seemed to be rare in Konoha, which fitted in with what Iruka-sensei had told me about the number of people who could even use it, let alone those who actually did. Hitting. Naruto returned his attention to making his dinner. Cup ramen for the win. The next day. Taijutsu Arena, Academy Grounds. Naruto winced as Akamichi Choji sent a civilian-born student sailing out of the arena with a solid punch. He honestly never wanted to fight Choji because of that physical strength of his. He even used observe on him and didn't like what he saw. Name. Akamichi Choji. Class. Clan Heir of the Akamichi. Level. 8 Next level. 98.68%. Title. Academy Student plus 25% XP to LV10. Age. 12. HP. 656 150ths. CP. 656 150ths. STR. 22. Santa. 22. Dex. 16. Int. 13. Whis. 20. Luck. 17. Special status. Akamichi Clan Heir minus 25% chakra to use any Akamichi Clan Jutsu Big Bone plus 2 STR and STA per level. 30% more difficult to increase Dex Amateur Akamichi Battle Chef plus 25 XP to all field cooking actions. Adds 15% to field cooking success ratio. Perks. Loyal friend. Physical resilience. Flaws. Touchy subject. Fat. Timid. Akamichi Choji is slated to become the 16th head of the Akamichi clan. He is a kind, shy boy who is immensely loyal to those he calls friend. The mention of a certain 3-letter word sends him into a blind rage, but is otherwise hard to antagonize. He is rarely seen without his best friend Nara Shikamaru. Naruto had always liked Choji. Granted, the boy ate like food was going out of fashion, but he was never mean to the blonde prankster. Seeing how damn strong Choji was made Naruto eager to keep their friendship. Winner. Akamichi Choji. Iruka, the referee, declared, Kazuya-kun, go to the medical office. I think you might want to get that minor concussion looked at. Choji's opponent staggered off with a slightly dazed look on his face. Ouch. Next up, Uzumaki Naruto vs. Uchiha Sasuke. Iruka said in confusion. Naruto spotted Mizuki hide a smirk and scowled. Obviously, the assistant teacher wanted to make Naruto's life difficult by having him beaten in a spar by the elite Uchiha-sama. Well, screw that. Quest created. Rival showdown. Your spiteful assistant teacher has manipulated things and paired you against Uchiha Sasuke, your rival and the Rookie of the Year, in the Taijutsu sparring session for the nth time. Defeat him. Quest completion reward. Plus 1000 EXP. Random Taijutsu skill scroll. Minus 100 reputation with Uchiha Sasuke. Quest failure. Random selection between 250 express and random Taijutsu scroll. Except. YN. Discreetly tapping. Naruto strode forwards and stood in the middle of the sparring circle. Opposite him, Uchiha Sasuke gazed at him with a contempt look in those black eyes of his as he slouched to the ring. This makes 20 times in a row these two have been matched up. Iruka said icily to Mizuki, I expect that next time, different opponents will be chosen for them. Understood, Mizuki-kun. Mizuki just snorted. Alright you two. Please make the Teretsu no in seal of confrontation. Iruka sighed. Both Naruto and Sasuke made a half-ram seal with one hand. Kick his ass, Sasuke-kun. Ino cheered. Rather surprisingly, Sakura didn't join in verbally, but she did cheer for her love interest, which made Naruto sigh inside. His luck sucked when it came to this kind of thing. Observe, he whispered. Name, Uchiha Sasuke. Class, Emo Avenger. Level, 13 Next level, 00.12%. Title, Academy Student plus 25% XP to LV10. Age, 12. HP, 757 150ths. CP, 675 675ths. STR, 25. Santa, 18. Dex, 21. Int, 23. Whis, 15. Luck, 5. Special status. Unawakened Dojutsu plus 1 Dex every other level, plus 1 Int every level, Avenger plus bonus given to all stats when against Uchiha Itachi, Power of Hatred bonus to all physical stats given against all targets the user hates, last Uchiha automatically counts as the Uchiha clan heir even if not of the main family, granting plus 10% damage to all Uchiha Jutsu with minus 25% chakra cost. Perks. Natural genius. Hardworking. Determined. Flaws. Emo McBroodypants. Hatred Uchiha Itachi. Lone wolf. Superiority complex. Inferiority complex. Knowing pain. Uchiha Sasuke is the last living member of the once feared Uchiha clan aside from his brother, Uchiha Itachi, the clan killer, who slaughtered all of his clan aside from Sasuke. Driven by hatred and a thirst for vengeance, there is nothing he will not do in exchange for the power to slay his brother. Yet, deep inside him, there is still the good person he was before the Uchiha massacre. Sasuke was definitely superior to any of his classmates at level 13 no less. Yet, with the most flaws Naruto had seen on one person, he was also the most unbalanced. Unbalanced or not, he's still way over my current skill level. Naruto thought with a frown, I'll have to play this carefully. The Tem is a bastard, but he's skilled. I know that better than most. Being beaten like an unwanted stepchild for 20 sparring matches in a row will do that to a person. On my signal, Uruka raised one hand before bringing it down, Hajime. Naruto, usually the one to charge, decided to let the Uchiha make the first move this time. Assuming a basic defensive stance, Naruto waited for his opponent to react. Sasuke raised a mental eyebrow at the Dobi, acting cautiously for a change before he appraised the blonde boy's stance. It was actually quite good. A bit sloppy in places, but miles better than his previous attempts. So the Dobi has actually started making an effort, he thought with a smirk. He might actually get a workout out of this spar for a change. Leaping across the ring, Sasuke shot a high kick out at Naruto's head, which was blocked. Spinning away, the Uchiha followed up with a 4-punch combo. Naruto managed to dodge the first two, but the third hit his cheek, sending him stumbling back. Rallying, Naruto flung out a backhand that Sasuke grabbed and tried to use to throw him. Hooking a foot around his opponent's leg, Naruto quickly pulled, breaking Sasuke's stance, forcing him to let go of his arm and leaving the last Uchiha open to a roundhouse kick that sent him flying. He managed to stop himself from exiting the arena, but a look of slight shock was on his face. Naruto had actually fought back successfully for the first time against him. A smirk flashed over Sasuke's face for a second before he charged back at Naruto with a determined expression on his face. Leaping into the air, the Uchiha executed an axe drop kick on Naruto, who blocked it by crossing his arms. Using that as a springboard, Sasuke leaped over him and drove an elbow into his opponent's back as soon as he landed. Grunting in pain, Naruto lurched forward from the elbow strike. Before he could recover, Sasuke executed a low kick that sent Naruto sprawling on the ground. The match is over. Victor, Uchiha Sasuke. Uruka declared, good effort Naruto. You've been practicing hard, I see. Yup. Naruto grinned as he got up. Not enough though, damn it. Quest failed. Rival showdown. You fought valiantly, but Uchiha Sasuke still defeated you. Quest failure compensation. Chakra strength enhancement, skill scroll. Secret achievement unlocked. Worthy rival. Fight well but lose to Uchiha Sasuke during a spar. Plus 100 reputation with Uchiha Sasuke. Beginner's Hokage Taijutsu has leveled up. LV6 LV8. HN. Sasuke grunted. Alright you two, make the Wakai no and seal of reconciliation, the scarred Chunin directed the two students. With the two fingers of their right hands, Naruto and Sasuke shook hands quickly then swiftly let go. Dobi. Tem. As Naruto walked back out of the ring to let the next match start, he mused at his taijutsu jumping up by 2 levels. Was it because Sasuke was so skilled in taijutsu or because he was about 5 levels higher than he was? Whichever it is, I'll need to ask Gigi about training dummies at some point. Naruto thought as Sakura fought against Katsuragi Amy, the class bully, barely pulling out a win against her. After the academy. Sakura-chan. Naruto called as the kids started leaving the academy. What is it Naruto? Sakura no longer appended the baka to his name anymore, which was a huge improvement to Naruto's perspective. I'm gonna be busy today, so we can't have our study session today, he told her apologetically. He was going to go to Higurashi so they could tell him if his Tanto and Kodachi could be made from the ingot of chakra metal he had, and he had a feeling it would take a while when combined with completing the quest. A broken blade can still cut, so he was taking the day off from attacking books. You better have a good excuse Naruto. Sakura growled. I have to go see a smith about a sword, he replied, and it might take a while. Shouldn't you wait until after you graduate before getting weapons? Sakura asked with one delicate eyebrow raised. It takes weeks, sometimes months, to forge a good blade, Sakura-chan. Naruto told her, I will graduate. This time round and I'm gonna be fully equipped when I do. You might wanna give some thought to your own equipment once you've graduated. Noted. Sakura sighed. Well, see you tomorrow Naruto. See ya, Sakura-chan. Naruto grinned. That was the first time she'd said something like that to him. Score. Stopping by his apartment to grab the scroll containing the ingot he had forgotten to put it back in his inventory yesterday, Naruto set out for the weapons shop. On the way, he noted several shinobi looking at him in an odd way. It wasn't malicious or threatening, rather, it was more like they were curious about him. For making an accurate deduction, you gain +1 whiz. Shush, Naruto grumbled. He was really getting tired of his own damn ability mocking him. Naruto. A familiar voice called out to him. The boy turned to see Iruka jogging towards him and Naruto grinned. Hey there Iruka-sensei. What's up? Hokage-sama told me about what you found in Training Ground 13. The Chunin-sensei replied quietly. He also told me you'd be going to Higurashi's to see if it could make the weapons you want, so I decided to come along with you to make sure no one tries to steal it from you. Thanks Iruka-sensei. Naruto was grateful for this. He doubted that anyone other than the Hokage, himself and Iruka-sensei knew about the chakra metal ingot, but better safe than sorry. As they walked along, Iruka congratulated him on doing so well against Sasuke. You've been practicing hard, the scarred man said with a smile. Naruto chuckled and grinned proudly. You know it. Then he frowned. Thing is, I can only do so much just practicing kata. What should I do? You could try sparring with your Iwa Bunshin. Iruka pointed out. Facepalming, the blonde boy muttered, why the hell didn't I think of that? To be fair, it isn't something most people think of. Iruka said with a small smile. While more robust than most clone jutsu, Iwa Bunshin are still very fragile compared with a flesh and blood opponent, and most Chunin-level shinobi can easily defeat one. For academy students and genin though, it ought to be good practice. Thanks for the tip, Iruka-sensei. Naruto said as they came upon the Higurashi weapons shop. As seemed to be usual for when Naruto turned up, Tenten was sitting behind the counter polishing a weapon, this time an odashi. Hey Naruto, Uruka-sensei. Tenten greeted them, what you need? Did Isaka-san come in 2 days ago? Naruto asked nervously. Yup. The bun-haired girl nodded with a small scowl, she told me everything about how my baby was broken. Oh, Kawashima is in for one hell of a lecture when I see her next. Someone broke one of your weapons, Tenten. Uruka asked, wincing as the steely eyes of the girl locked on him and the kunoichi nodded once, yeesh. I kind of feel sorry for her. And angry that she broke a masterpiece of a weapon. The last part was added rather quickly as Tenten narrowed her eyes at her former teacher dangerously. Naruto was rather thankful he was on her good side. Anyway, Tenten said, abruptly reverting to her previous good mood, as thanks for helping me out, Ka-san and Oyaji said they're giving you a small discount on anything inside the shop whenever you come here. It isn't much, but I hope it's alright as thanks. Thanks. Naruto replied in shock. He'd never gotten a permanent discount at any shop before. Quest completed. A broken blade can still cut. You have helped defuse and resolve the matter of the destruction of the Tanto Toradora. Quest completion reward. Plus 1000 reputation with Higurashi Tenten. 5% discount when shopping at Higurashi Weapons and Ninja Apparels. Plus 750 reputation with Higurashi Kanae. Plus 750 reputation with Higurashi Tatsuhiko. Plus 1000 reputation with Higurashi Weapons and Ninja Apparels. Not bad. That puts me just 500 reputation from moving from friendly to well-liked with Tenten. Naruto thought as he drew the ingot scroll out of his pocket. Are your parents around? I have something they might want to see, he told her. Another weapon? Tenten asked curiously. Nope. You'll see soon though. Naruto grinned foxily. Eyeing Naruto suspiciously, Tenten headed off to get her parents. I'm looking forward to how she'll react to this. Naruto whispered to Uruka. You are such a prankster, Naruto. Uruka said with mock sternness, a glint in his eyes showing that he too was looking forward to the weapon-crazy girl's reaction to this. Meh. If you've got it, Naruto shrugged. Ah, Uzumaki-san. Tatsuhiko called as he led the way back into the room. What is it that you need me to see? Naruto gulped as Tatsuhiko loomed over him. Man, he was big. Behind him, Kanae rolled her eyes at her husband's antics and smacked the back of his head sharply with one hand. Anata, he's here to show us something, not ask for our daughter's hand in marriage, so stop your shenanigans. Ka-san. Tenten whined in embarrassment, a light dusting of pink appearing on her cheeks. Was there really a need to smack me over the head? The man of the house grumbled, domestic abuse, this is. A big strong man like you, bullied by a small and delicate thing like me. Surely not. Kanae teased, making Naruto and Uruka snicker at the larger man's discomfort. Women. Well, you two clowns can laugh it up all you want, but you'll be on this side of the fence one day. The weaponsmith grumbled, then you'll regret not showing sympathy to me, mark my words. Anyway, what is it you would like to show my wife and me, Uzumaki-san? This, Naruto said as he unrolled the storage scroll and unsealed the ingot of chakra metal, anticipating the reactions of the family of smiths. He wasn't disappointed. Tenten took one look at the metal and almost fainted. Her parents were more restrained, but their eyes bulging out in slightly agape expressions were priceless. Chakra metal, Kanae croaked out, how, where? I killed a huge chakra mutated mole and found this in its burrow. Naruto shrugged. It has to be highly purified. Tatsuhiko murmured, touching the ingot with a trembling finger. There's a stamp on the back that says it's 990.90 pure, is that good? Naruto asked. That's just about as pure as you can get with chakra metal. The smith gulped, I take it you wish me to forge a weapon for you. First, can you forge a kodachi and a pair of tanto from that ingot? Naruto inquired. With this much chakra metal, I could make 3 full-sized katana, so yes. Tatsuhiko replied. What will you do with the leftover metal? Kanae asked. Well, I doubt that having you make the blades will be cheap, right? Naruto asked. It will cost thousands of ryo. The smith confirmed, it will still be cheaper than it would otherwise be because you are supplying a large amount of the materials. Then you can have the rest of the metal as payment. Naruto said with a shrug. There was a gasp from Tenten at that. Naruto, are you certain? Tatsuhiko asked. Selling the remaining metal to a merchant would more than pay for your weapons and leave you a comfortable nest egg for emergencies. Thanks to his ability converting defeated enemies into money, Naruto didn't really need a nest egg, but it was best to not let anyone know about that part just yet. It's okay. I have a lot saved up. Naruto drew out Gama-chan, which was literally stuffed full of ryo notes, to the point of looking like a balloon. Besides, better to have it on hand in Konoha than Kami-sama knows. Where if you need the metal? A point. Tatsuhiko gave a grin. Alright, Uzumaki-san. I shall make your weapons with all of my skill. This I do so swear. Would you prefer the kodachi made first or the tanto? What'll be quicker? Naruto asked. Making a pair of tanto is fairly simple. If you pick the same blade design, I can have them ready for you by next month, the smith replied. Tenten, recovered from her shock, explained, there are different designs of blades for tanto. Here, take a look at this display over here. She pointed at the rack next to the counter, which had 12 different tanto mounted on it, all unsheathed. They all looked very impressive. I don't know. What would you recommend? Naruto asked, feeling a bit out of his depth. As you're just starting out with him, I'd recommend a pair of Hira blades. Tatsuhiko mused, they're one of the more common designs for tanto. Hira is the one at the top, the plain one. The design was indeed plain, but it looked deadly nonetheless. Sounds good. Naruto decided, I'll leave it with you then. Do you sell practice versions? Sure. Kanae said, Ten-chan, go and get 2 of the Hira variant practice blades from the back. Grab a kodachi one as well. Hi, Ka-san, the bun-haired kunoichi replied as she dashed off to fetch the requested items. That will be 7,500 ryo. Kanae said with a professional smile. Fishing out the cash from Gama-chan, Naruto handed the notes over to Kanae, who nodded her thanks. Here you go Naruto. Tenten said as she handed over a pair of dull and blunt tanto and an equally blunt kodachi. These simulate the weight and balance of the real thing, so you can use them to get used to wielding them. I made all of them, so they're all of good quality and can take a beating. Just don't break them, K. Not in a million years. Naruto agreed hurriedly as he sealed the practice weapons into the scroll. The last thing he wanted was an experienced genin out for his blood. Speaking of which, aspiring weapons mistress, LV-20 Higurashi Tenten. Master blacksmith, LV-17 Higurashi Tatsuhiko. Assistant blacksmith, LV-15 Higurashi Kanae. Tenten was very high level for someone who had only been a genin for a year, so either she had killed some powerful opponents or she had been doing some insane training. Possibly both. Even her parents were, he noted as he and Uruka bid the three Higurashis goodbye, above the usual level he had seen for civilians. Uruka's sensei had mentioned that they were retired shinobi, so shouldn't their levels be higher than that? Or did retiring from a profession to take up another reset your level somehow? Naruto. Uruka asked in concern. The usually rambunctious boy had been quiet ever since they had left the weapon shop. It was slightly unnerving. Oh, sorry. Naruto said as he snapped himself out of his pondering. I was just wondering where I'm going to get a Nito Ryu Tanto style and a Kodachi style. Does the shinobi section of the library have anything like that? Highly likely. I'll have a look for you, the Chunin sensei promised, which reminds me. I completely forgot to train you in another clone jutsu that I was supposed to. Up for a lesson. Hell yeah, Naruto cheered. Dojo room, Amekage apartments. Now then Naruto, Uruka began in his lecturing voice, the jutsu I am going to show you is highly advanced, well beyond the basic Bunshin no jutsu and the Iwa Bunshin. It is called the Kage Bunshin no jutsu. Does it have anything to do with the Nara clan? Naruto asked cautiously. Good guess, but no. Uruka chuckled. Everyone thought the Nara had something to do with the shadow clone jutsu at first. No, the Kage Bunshin no jutsu was invented by the Nadaime Hokage, Senju Tobarama. It creates a physical copy of the user using only chakra. No elemental medium whatsoever. Naruto frowned. His studies with Sakura-chan had only briefly touched on the theory of chakra control, but he did know one thing. That means the chakra cost is through the roof, isn't it? Uruka nodded. Exactly. The general rule is that creating a shadow clone uses about half of a Jonin-level shinobi's chakra reserves, but that is just a guideline. Nevertheless, the Kage Bunshin no jutsu is classed as a kinjutsu, so if you learn it, you are not permitted to knowingly teach it to someone with insufficient reserves. Understood. Naruto nodded. Hi, sensei. Good. Now, unlike other clone jutsu, you only use a single hand sign in order to use the shadow clone jutsu and it is called the clone hand sign. Uruka said. Catching the look on Naruto's face, he added, hey, I didn't name the hand sign. Blame Nadaime-sama for that. Sure. Naruto rolled his eyes. This is the clone hand sign. Uruka continued after glaring at Naruto for a moment. He formed a cross in front of himself using the index and middle fingers of both hands. The shadow clone jutsu doesn't require much in the way of chakra control. In fact, the more chakra you have, the better. Uruka continued, ordinarily, I would advise experimenting to see how much chakra it takes to form a single clone, but given that you have so much chakra, you should just keep trying until you can form any number of clones. Okay. Naruto cracked his knuckles, and then formed the same hand sign as Uruka, Kage Bunshin no jutsu. A blast of smoke filled the room, making both of them cough. Once the smoke dissipated, a faint outline of a Naruto clone flickered and vanished. Well that's odd. Uruka remarked and unrolled a scroll. I'd better check the jutsu scroll. Here we are. In the event that the room fills with smoke upon execution of the technique, attempt to create as many clones as you can rather than 1 or 3 as it is clear that either your chakra control sucks or you are being lazy. Very blunt, Nadaime-sama. Wait, is that? Naruto asked in surprise. A copy of Senju Tobarama's original scrolls regarding the Kage Bunshin no jutsu, copied by the Sandaime Hokage himself. Uruka replied, he copied it out especially for the sake of teaching you this jutsu, so work hard. Yosha. Let's try this again. Naruto declared, Kage Bunshin no jutsu. It took Naruto 4 hours to finally produce a proper shadow clone. Rather, it took him 4 hours to become a one-boy army. When he finally succeeded, 24 clones materialized in an explosion of chakra smoke. Naruto fell to one knee at that point, noting absently in his exhaustion that his CP was down to 0 out of 900. Geez, that was exhausting. Skill created. As a result of specific repeated actions, the skill Kage Bunshin no jutsu has been created. Kage Bunshin no jutsu instant LV1, 000. The Nadaime Hokage's shadow clone jutsu is one of his most widely known jutsu and was originally created for scouting dangerous locations. All clones possess the same physical capabilities as the original, are equipped as the original and can also use any jutsu known to the original. The downsides to this technique are twofold. First, it is very chakra intensive, meaning only the more powerful high chunin and jonin can make use of this technique. Secondly, it only takes a single solid hit to dispel the clone, making it impractical as a genuine combat technique. Owing to your exceptionally dense chakra as in Uzumaki, the CP cost of each clone is reduced by 75%. Initial cost for each shadow clone, 150 CP. Adjusted cost for each shadow clone, 37.5 CP. I did it. Naruto
cheered. I'll say. Uruka muttered in disbelief, 24 shadow clones? Shaking his head, Uruka looked at a rapidly recovering and energetic Naruto with a fond smile. Kona his number 1 show-off. Number 1 unpredictable noisy ninja. That title definitely fits you Naruto. He thought before offering to take Naruto out for ramen at Ichiraku's to celebrate. Free guesses what Naruto's reply was. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.